Have you ever found yourself wondering what's really going on in a woman's mind when she opens up to you? That moment, when she shares her frustrations, fears, or even accomplishments. There's much more behind this scenario than most men realize. It's not just about the words being said. It's a silent test, a subtle game of evaluation happening right before your eyes. Female communication is like an iceberg. What you hear is just the visible tip of something much deeper and more complex. Behind every outpouring, every shared story, there's an implicit message that few women will openly admit. They are testing your masculine essence, your leadership ability, and your emotional stability. When a woman opens her heart to you, she's not simply seeking immediate solutions to her problems. In fact, she's checking if you're the type of man capable of skillfully navigating the turbulent sea of emotions without losing your way. She observes attentively. Do you despair at her tears? Do you get irritated by her venting? Or do you maintain your solid ground, demonstrating understanding without being swept away by the emotional current? This is a test that many men fail, without even realizing they were being evaluated. And that's where the danger lies. By not understanding this dynamic, you can be jeopardizing not only your connection with her, but also how you are seen and valued within the relationship. Imagine the following scene. Your partner comes home visibly shaken after a tough day at work. She starts sharing details about a conflict with a coworker, the pressures from her boss, the tight deadlines. Most men at this moment fall into one of two traps. The first is to immediately try to solve all her problems, interrupting her account with phrases like, "Why don't you just do this?" Or "You just need to talk to your boss and it'll be resolved." The second trap is to adopt a completely disinterested posture, limiting themselves to nodding while thinking about something else. Both reactions fail to grasp the essence of what's really happening. What she's looking for deep down is neither a savior nor a passive spectator. It's a man who knows how to listen with genuine attention and at the same time maintains his inner firmness, his ability not to be consumed by the emotional turbulence of the moment. This is the truth that few men understand. When a woman vents, she is in reality measuring your emotional response. She is evaluating if you are someone who remains stable even when everything around seems chaotic. It's as if she's silently asking, can I entrust my vulnerability to this man? Does he have the inner strength needed to be my safe harbor, or will he sink with me at the first sign of a storm? I have observed over the years how this dynamic repeats itself in countless relationships. The men who stand out, those who naturally attract and maintain feminine interest, are precisely those who master this art, the ability to demonstrate understanding without losing their essence of leadership. They don't need to impose their masculinity aggressively or controllingly. On the contrary, their strength manifests precisely in the serenity with which they absorb the emotions around them without being dominated by them. Think of the ocean as a perfect metaphor for this situation. The surface may be agitated with violent waves and foam everywhere, but in the depths, an undisturbed calm is maintained. This is exactly how you should behave in the face of feminine venting, acknowledging the surface agitation, but keeping your center in a state of unwavering tranquility. Now you might be wondering, how do I develop this ability? How do I become this man who inspires confidence and at the same time doesn't lose his essence in the process? The answer begins with self-awareness. You need, first of all, to understand your own emotional reactions, identify your triggers, and develop mechanisms to maintain your stability even in challenging situations. When a woman shares her problems, your first instinct may be to feel obligated to offer immediate solutions. After all, we've been culturally conditioned to be problem solvers, haven't we? However, this impulse can be counterproductive. By interrupting her account with hasty solutions, you are inadvertently conveying the message that you can't stand, seeing her in a state of vulnerability, which can be interpreted as weakness on your part, not strength. On the other hand, adopting a completely distant posture is also not the way to go. When you disconnect emotionally, showing disinterest or impatience, you are signaling that you do not possess the ability to handle the emotional depth she is offering. And few signals are as discouraging to a woman as realizing that the man by her side cannot sustain her vulnerability. The balance lies in demonstrating active presence, listening with genuine interest, asking pertinent questions, offering your support, without taking on her emotional burden yourself. It's like dancing. You follow her movements with synchronicity and respect, without trying to lead forcefully or remain static. There is another crucial aspect to this dynamic that few women will openly admit. When they share their vulnerabilities, they are also observing your ability to redirect. A truly self-assured man knows not only how to listen, but also how to guide the conversation from a state of problem to a state of solution, without minimizing the feelings involved. Imagine your partner is recounting a conflict at work that has left her deeply shaken. After listening attentively without interrupting, you might say something like, "I understand why this affected you so much. Knowing your competence, I imagine you'll find a way to turn this challenge into a growth opportunity." Notice that you are not offering a specific solution, but you are subtly reminding her of her own strength, while also demonstrating confidence in her ability. This approach conveys a powerful message. You are not just someone who passively absorbs her emotions, but a partner who inspires her to transcend her own limitations. It is exactly this type of emotional leadership that makes a woman feel simultaneously supported and challenged, an irresistibly attractive combination. What many women will never explicitly tell you is that, as independent and empowered as they are, and they truly are, there is an innate desire to be alongside a man who is not easily shaken. Don't confuse this with insensitivity. It is in fact an inner fortitude that allows you to be emotionally present without being consumed by circumstances. It's like that ancient tree that even during the most violent storms remains firmly rooted. Its leaves may sway, its branches may bend, but its trunk remains unyielding. This is the perfect metaphor for the type of man who naturally attracts and maintains feminine interest. Flexible enough to adapt, but strong enough not to break. Realize that in a world where women are increasingly gaining independence in all spheres, professional, financial, social, true attraction is no longer based on dependence or need. A modern woman does not need a man to solve her practical problems or to provide materially. What she seeks, often unconsciously, is someone who adds value on a deeper level, the emotional one. When you develop this ability to be an emotional leader, you become rare. In a sea of men who either try to control or simply give up in the face of feminine complexity, you stand out as someone who understands the subtle game of communication between the genders. And it is precisely this rarity that awakens and maintains genuine interest. Another crucial aspect of this dynamic, and one that few women will openly admit, is that they often use venting as a way to test your reaction under pressure. It's as if they are unconsciously asking, how does this man handle chaos? Does he maintain his composure, or does he easily fall apart? This evaluation is not capricious or manipulative. It is, in fact, a deeply ingrained evolutionary mechanism. Think about it. Throughout human history, a man's ability to remain calm and functional in crisis situations could mean the difference between survival or perishing for his family. Although we live in very different times today, this instinct to seek an emotionally stable partner remains active in the female subconscious. When a woman shares a seemingly trivial concern, attentively observing your reaction, she is, in fact, collecting data on how you would likely react in truly critical situations. If you show yourself to be impatient or emotionally unstable in the face of minor problems, this raises a subliminal red flag. How would you handle genuinely significant challenges? This is why your response to feminine venting is so important. Each interaction is an opportunity to demonstrate your emotional intelligence, your ability to remain centered even when confronted with turbulence. And believe me, she is registering every reaction, every word, every facial expression, even if unconsciously. A truly secure man understands that he does not need to absorb his partner's emotional state. You can acknowledge the legitimacy of her feelings without necessarily sharing in her agitation. It's like being the eye of the hurricane, the only point of absolute calm in the midst of the storm. This posture not only inspires confidence, but also creates a fascinating paradoxical effect. The more centered you remain, the safer she feels to express her emotions freely. There is a delicate balance to be achieved here. On one hand, you want to demonstrate genuine empathy. After all, no one is attracted to someone incapable of understanding their emotions. On the other hand, you need to maintain your own identity and stability, because no one respects someone who gets completely lost in the emotional whirlwind of another. An effective technique for navigating this balance is what I call selective mirroring. It involves reflecting the emotional content of what is being shared, but not necessarily the intensity. For example, if she expresses frustration with an event at work, you can say, "I understand that this situation has been frustrating for you," acknowledging the feeling without amplifying or minimizing it. This type of response demonstrates that you are genuinely connected to what she feels, but maintains a healthy distance that allows you to continue being a safe harbor instead of just another source of turbulence. It's the difference between empathy and sympathy. The former connects while preserving boundaries. The latter mixes emotions to the point of confusion. Now let's explore another crucial aspect of this dynamic: the calculated vulnerability of women. What many will never admit is that frequently they deliberately dose how much fragility they demonstrate, attentively observing how you respond to different levels of emotional exposure. It's as if they are slowly opening the floodgates of a dam, releasing a little more water each time, to assess if you are capable of handling the flow. If you show yourself to be overwhelmed by small demonstrations of vulnerability, this sends a clear signal. Perhaps you are not capable of sustaining deeper levels of emotional intimacy. On the other hand, if you demonstrate tranquility and receptiveness in the face of her initial vulnerabilities, she will feel safe to reveal deeper layers of herself. And it is in this progressive building of trust that truly meaningful relationships are established. Remember that for a woman, sharing her insecurities and intimate fears is not something trivial. It is an act of profound trust. If she chooses to open up to you, she is essentially saying, "I believe you are strong enough to carry this with me." When you confirm this belief through your balanced posture, you not only strengthen the emotional connection, but also solidify your position as a distinguished man. The truth is that women rarely articulate these expectations directly. They will not say, "I am testing your emotional strength now," or "I want to see if you maintain your composure in the face of my vulnerability." This process happens on a more intuitive level, almost subconscious, both for her and often for you. This is what makes the dynamic so challenging and so rewarding when properly understood. An interesting phenomenon that I consistently observe is what I call the emotional boomerang effect. When you manage to maintain your stability in the face of feminine emotional turmoil, something remarkable often occurs. That same emotional intensity that she was expressing gradually begins to align with your tranquility. It's as if your serenity has a gravitational effect, pulling her towards a more balanced state. It's not about suppressing her emotions, but about creating an energetic field so stable that it naturally influences those around you. When you don't overreact to emotional stimuli, you convey a silent but powerful message. There's no need for alarm. We can navigate this together. This is perhaps the most transformative aspect of the dynamic we are exploring. Your ability to remain centered not only serves to impress her or pass her tests, it fundamentally serves to create a space where both of you can experience a more mature and balanced form of emotional connection. A man who truly understands this dynamic will never try to diminish or invalidate his partner's emotions, even when they seem disproportionate. He understands that the goal is not to convince her to feel differently, but to demonstrate that he can be present with her in any emotional state without losing his own centrality. Think of the metaphor of the lifeguard. When someone is drowning, the rescuer does not jump into the water and start drowning along with them. They use techniques and equipment that allow them to rescue the person while keeping themselves safe. Similarly, you can offer emotional support without letting yourself be submerged by the intensity of the moment. There is a fascinating paradox in this dynamic. The more secure you appear in your masculinity, the less you need to demonstrate it in obvious or ostentatious ways. Men who feel a constant need to prove their strength or dominance are inadvertently signaling insecurity. Those who are genuinely comfortable in their masculine energy emanate this quality naturally, without effort or exaggeration. It's like the difference between a lion that needs to roar constantly to assert its territory and one that walks silently, aware of its inherent strength. The second one doesn't need to make a fuss. Its presence alone communicates everything that is necessary. Another revealing aspect that few women will openly admit is that behind many ventings seemingly directed at external situations, there is often an implicit desire to confirm their worth in the eyes of their partner. When she shares a frustration at work or a personal insecurity, part of her is subconsciously asking, "Do you still value me, even when I'm not at my best? Do you see my essence beyond my moments of fragility?" The way you answer this unspoken question can deeply strengthen the connection or create subtle distancing. If your reaction conveys impatience or disappointment, you inadvertently confirm one of the biggest feminine fears, that of being valued only in their moments of strength and perfection. On the other hand, if you demonstrate the same admiration and respect even when she is vulnerable, you establish a level of emotional security that few relationships achieve. It is important to understand that this dynamic does not reflect weakness or emotional dependence on her part. On the contrary, it reflects a deeply human desire to be accepted fully with all complexities and contradictions. And the ability to offer this type of unconditional acceptance without losing your own center is one of the most distinctive marks of an emotionally mature man. There is a crucial subtlety in this dynamic that is rarely discussed openly: the difference between emotional validation and unrestricted agreement. Many men confuse these two concepts, believing that to support their partner emotionally, they necessarily need to agree with all her perceptions or perspectives. In fact, you can fully validate what she is feeling without necessarily endorsing all her conclusions. For example, if she expresses frustration with a friend who cancelled plans at the last minute, you can say, "I understand why you feel disrespected." In this situation, validating her emotion, and then add, "Although there may be circumstances we don't know about yet," offering an alternative perspective without invalidating what she feels. This approach demonstrates that you take her feelings seriously, but also that you possess your own discernment, a combination that inspires both confidence and respect. It is the perfect balance between emotional connection and intellectual autonomy. A particularly challenging aspect of this dynamic, and one that very few women will explicitly address, is the implicit test of your ability to lead without dominating. Deep down, what many women seek, especially the most independent and accomplished ones, is a man who demonstrates natural leadership without resorting to imposition or control. Think of it as the difference between a boss and a leader. The former demands respect based on their position. The latter inspires respect based on their character and their actions. When you manage to navigate the feminine emotional universe with confidence and clarity, without trying to control or suppress their expressions, you demonstrate exactly the type of leadership that naturally attracts and maintains genuine interest. This ability manifests in subtle but unmistakable ways. It's the way you listen with genuine attention, but don't lose your sense of direction. It's how you validate her feelings without letting yourself be manipulated by them. It's your ability to respectfully disagree when necessary, without creating unnecessary conflicts. The man who masters this rare art is the one who, when his partner is emotionally agitated, does not try to silence her nor amplifies her agitation. He creates a safe space where that energy can be expressed and gradually transformed into something constructive. It is a delicate dance that few master, but which, when executed with mastery, elevates the relationship to an extraordinary level. Look, I'm not suggesting that you should suppress your own emotions or adopt an artificially stoic posture. True strength is not in the absence of feelings, but in the ability to feel them fully, without losing your centrality and discernment. It is perfectly natural and healthy to feel touched, concerned, or even shaken by what your partner shares. The crucial question is how you manage and express these reactions. An emotionally intelligent man knows that he can demonstrate genuine empathy and even controlled vulnerability without compromising his position of stability. In fact, his willingness to acknowledge his own feelings in a balanced and conscious way only strengthens his credibility and authenticity in her eyes. Let's take as an example a scenario in which your partner shares a deep concern about a health problem in her family. It would be completely inappropriate and, frankly, inhuman to react with clinical detachment or indifference. At that moment, it is perfectly appropriate to demonstrate concern, compassion, and even sadness. The crucial difference lies in how you channel these emotions. Instead of allowing worry to paralyze you or make you fall into a state of unproductive anxiety, you can transform it into attentive presence and practical support. Instead of letting sadness sink you into despair, you can use it as fuel for constructive actions. It is this ability to feel deeply, yet still act with clarity and purpose, that defines true emotional strength. What many women secretly admire, but rarely express openly, is the masculine ability to feel the full weight of a challenging situation and still remain functional and centered. It's like the captain of a ship in the midst of a storm. He fully feels the gravity and danger of the situation, but channels that awareness into decisive and clear actions rather than allowing fear to paralyze him. This is one of the greatest unspoken truths in relationship dynamics. The man who can integrate emotional sensitivity and inner strength is not compromising his masculinity. He is, in fact, elevating it to its fullest and most mature expression. Society often presents us with a false dichotomy. Either we are tough and insensitive, or we are emotional and weak. The truth is that true strength lies precisely in the ability to transcend this limiting dichotomy, to be simultaneously sensitive and strong, empathetic and stable, vulnerable and unyielding. The deepest and most lasting relationships are built on this foundation: the mutual ability to create a space where both can be authentically vulnerable, knowing that this vulnerability will be received with respect and sustained with strength. It is a dynamic that requires constant self-awareness and growth from both parties, but which offers incomparable rewards in terms of connection and intimacy. Returning to our central truth, when a woman shares her emotions with you, she is, consciously or unconsciously, evaluating your ability to receive that vulnerability without losing your own centrality. She observes if you can be touched without being destabilized, if you demonstrate understanding without becoming submissive, if you offer strength without becoming controlling. It is a subtle test, rarely verbalized, but constantly present. And your response to this test, not just in words but in energy, presence, and attitude, largely determines how she perceives and values you as a partner. Developing this ability is not a matter of superficial techniques or calculated manipulations. It is about deep inner work, cultivating qualities such as self-knowledge, self-control, genuine empathy, and conscious presence. It is a path of personal growth that benefits not only your romantic relationships, but all your social interactions and, fundamentally, your relationship with yourself. By understanding and incorporating these unspoken truths, you become not only a more valuable and attractive partner, but a more complete and integrated man. You transcend the limitations of restrictive social expectations and embrace a more expansive and authentic vision of masculinity, one that incorporates strength and sensitivity, stability and adaptability, leadership and partnership. The fundamental truth that very few women will openly articulate is that behind their ventings and emotional expressions, there is a deep desire to be with a man who not only listens to them, but who inspires them to transcend their own limitations. A man who receives their vulnerability not as a weakness to be protected, but as a strength to be honored. A man who remains unyielding, not out of insensitivity, but out of deep connection with his own essence. This is the type of man who naturally awakens and maintains not only feminine attraction, but their genuine respect and admiration. And becoming this man is not a matter of superficial techniques or strategies. It is a journey of self-discovery and self-mastery that redefines not only how you relate to women, but how you relate to the world and to yourself. Feminine communication, with all its nuances and complexities, is not a labyrinth to be feared or avoided, but an invitation to a deeper and more meaningful form of connection. By understanding what is really happening behind the spoken words, you transcend the superficial game of trying to get it right or please, and enter a space of authenticity and presence that naturally magnetizes and inspires. Remember, true strength is not in never being affected, but in remaining centered even when deeply touched. It is not in never feeling, but in feeling fully without being overwhelmed. It is not in controlling the other, but in mastering yourself. And it is precisely this quality, this rare combination of emotional receptivity and inner stability, that constitutes the core of mature and integrated masculinity that, secretly, is what women most desire and value in a partner. By developing these qualities, you are not only meeting external expectations, you are aligning yourself with your own deepest nature, with the man you have the potential to be. And in this alignment lies not only the secret to deeper and more satisfying relationships, but to a life of authenticity, purpose, and personal fulfillment. The truth revealed, therefore, is not just about what women secretly seek in a man. It is more fundamentally about who you are called to be for yourself. It is about transcending the limitations of restrictive conditioning and embracing the fullness of your nature as a man, strong and sensitive, stable and adaptable, leader and partner. It is about recognizing that your true strength is not in dominating the other, but in mastering yourself. And it is in this self-mastery, in this consciously cultivated integration of all facets of your nature, that you become not only the man who naturally attracts and inspires, but the man you were born to be. What women will never tell you openly, but that you now understand, is that the game of attraction and relationships is much deeper and more meaningful than simple conquest, techniques, or rules of behavior. It is a dance of energies that, when understood and navigated with awareness, elevates both partners to fuller and more integrated versions of themselves. So, the next time a woman shares her feelings, remember, what is really happening goes far beyond the words being said. It is an invitation to demonstrate not only that you can listen, but that you can remain strong in your presence, centered in your essence, confident in your worth. It is an invitation to be the man who, silently, she hopes you will be. Not out of external pressure, but because it is who you truly are in your fullest and most authentic expression. The truth has been revealed. The rest is up to you. And when you master this art of conscious presence, something extraordinary happens. You begin to realize that feminine ventings, far from being a burden or a test, transform into precious opportunities to deepen connection. Each moment of shared vulnerability becomes a brick in the construction of genuine intimacy, the kind that withstands the test of time and adversity. Reflect on the men you admire, those who naturally attract both masculine and feminine respect. Observe how they carry themselves in emotionally charged situations. You will notice that they are rarely the ones who raise their voices the loudest or who demonstrate cold indifference. They are invariably those who convey an unwavering calm, an attentive presence, and a silent strength that does not need to be announced to be felt. This quality is not something you are born with, but something you cultivate daily through conscious practices of self-knowledge and self-discipline. It is inner work that demands brutal honesty with yourself, willingness to face your own fears and insecurities, and continuous commitment to your personal growth. Each day you have the opportunity to choose, react automatically based on past conditioning and unresolved insecurities, or respond consciously from a place of clarity and integrity. And it is in these small daily choices that you gradually forge the man you are destined to become. It's not about perfection, but about direction. There will be times when you fail, when your reaction will not be up to your potential. In those moments, the true measure of your strength will not be in denying the mistake, but in acknowledging it with humility, learning from it, and moving forward with renewed clarity and determination. Always remember, the path of mature and integrated masculinity is not linear, but spiral. You will revisit the same challenges repeatedly, but each time from a place of greater awareness and capacity. What once seemed impossible gradually becomes natural as you incorporate at an increasingly deeper level the qualities that define true masculine strength. And so, armed with these rarely articulated truths, you are now better equipped to navigate the intricate labyrinth of feminine communication, not as a confused outsider or a calculating manipulator, but as a man who understands the unwritten rules of the game and chooses to play with integrity, authenticity, and mastery. The reward for this inner work is not just feminine admiration or more satisfying relationships, although these are natural benefits that flow from this journey. The true reward is the inner freedom that comes from living aligned with your deepest nature, from expressing in the world the fullness of your being, without distortions or limitations imposed by restrictive conditioning. In a world where so many men are lost, confused about their place and their purpose, you now have a map that points not outward, but inward, to the timeless qualities that define true masculine essence, beyond cultural fads or superficial expectations. And in this return to yourself, in this reconnection with your deepest nature, you find not only the key to fuller and more satisfying relationships, but to a life lived in alignment, purpose, and meaning. The truth has been revealed. The path has been illuminated. The journey, however, is yours to walk step by step, choice by choice, moment by moment. And it is in this continuous journey of self-discovery and self-mastery that you not only become the man that women secretly desire, but more importantly, the man that you yourself know in your heart you were born to be.